Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I don't know if you have seen at the bottom of this room, there is a wonderful sentence hanging here. Can anybody look at the sentence and read it loud so that everybody can hear this sentence? Because it's the main subject of what I will talk about concerning entrepreneurship. Is somebody able to read this sentence, please? Yeah, be the change you want to see in the world. It's a wonderful sentence of Mahatma Gandhi. And that's exactly what the social entrepreneurs are doing. So, social entrepreneur, like myself, I initiated actually the microfinance activity of BNP Paribas 10 years ago, and then the social finance activities. They are in the business, but at the same time, they want to change the world. And that's what actually I wrote. This book, which I wrote, which was published 1 year ago, is actually crowdsourced because it's not only my story, but it's the story of 20 people, which I've been interviewing in depth for this book. The Guide of Social Entrepreneur, well, you have the cover here. So this book is the story of 20 social entrepreneurs in the French context. I would dream to do something wider at the European context. I'm looking for cases, actually, so it's a call to everybody. I'm looking for cases in Europe about people who are within big companies, but with a social purpose, and they are innovators, and they achieve to change the companies from the inside. Because we have been talking quite a lot about the entrepreneurs. And there are a lot of social entrepreneurs, and that's wonderful, but quite often the social entrepreneurs, they remain at a small scale, whereas the entrepreneur has the chance that he can have a big scale, because when you are working in a company like the BNP Paribas Group, we are almost 200,000 people in 80 countries, so it's possible to do something with a big scale. So, first, I will talk about the obstacles, because being a social entrepreneur is nothing easy. It's something really similar to all the people that I've been interviewing. If you take the story of Nicolas at Leroy Merlin, or François at Renault, Matt at AXA. So, at the beginning, the social entrepreneur is very much alone. And that's what I called the 3 no's. No time, no money, no power. No time, because at the beginning, the social entrepreneur has an idea, but he doesn't have time to develop this idea, because it's not in his mission. He has no power, no mission to develop this new idea. When I started to think about microfinance as a business activity for the group, I was actually in cash management. I was a classical commercial banker in the classical financing for enterprises, but not in social business, not in microfinance. And so I didn't have time, because nobody told me you have to do that and you take 20% of your time to develop this new mission. I was in cash management. It was also not my mission. And I didn't have any money to visit conferences, to meet people, to gather some documentation. So for 6 months, actually, I've been doing my normal job. And I've been on weekends and on the evenings, I've been working on this new project, not knowing actually whether it would be a success or not, whether I could convince the top management or not. And it took me actually 6 months and meeting 40 people individually, reaching the top management, convincing the top management to have the approval to build this activity. And that's exactly the same story of, say, Nicolas at Leroy Merlin. So he was the more persistent of all of them, because it took him 2 years and meeting 80 people within the company to convince them so that he could get the mission to develop an activity to work with social enterprises for the common good within Leroy Merlin. So I said the 3 no's. The other category of obstacle, I would call it the 3 I's: inertia, ignorance, and isolation. The 3 I's, because at the beginning, well, inertia. I'm well in my job. I've been in this company for 10, 20 years. And why should I innovate? Nobody asked me to innovate. So, and that's the same, not only for me as an individual, that's the same also for the company. Why should company innovate? They have recurring cash flows. The business model is well established, and they have been in this activity for 20, 50, 100 years, BNP Paribas almost 200 years. So why should we innovate? Why should we go out of inertia to take risk? The second aspect is ignorance. When I started in microfinance, actually, I didn't know much about microfinance. My only legitimation was that I've been launching two years earlier. Well, it was not an activity, it was an informal network of supporters for microfinance, so people involved as volunteers to support micro entrepreneurs. But that was something totally different. Microfinance as a volunteer in France was something at the group level, internationally. So I had to learn quite a lot, and I've been for months reading everything I could find on the internet so that I could become not anymore an ignorant about microfinance, but really to be a specialist of microfinance, because nobody within the company, nobody knew about microfinance, really the business model of microfinance, how to evaluate it. And the third aspect is isolation. When the entrepreneur starts, he's very much alone. And the question is that he should not remain alone for a long time, because he would not go anywhere. There is a proverb in Africa. They say, tout seul on va plus vite, ensemble on va plus loin. So together, people go further, but if you go alone, you can go quicker. And that's true at the beginning, you can go very quick, but if you are alone, you will not reach the summit, because you need, if I take my example, so I am a classical banker, but I don't know everything about risk, about management controls, about, so I constituted, even before the presentation to the executive committee, I constituted a team of people who could help me to build the case and to present the case to the executive committee. So, after the obstacles, I would speak a little about the key success factors, but I think it's quite important we keep sometimes for questions, because I'm quite sure within this room there are some people who have experience or who want to become entrepreneur. I would be very happy to answer your questions. So the key success factors, first, at the personal level, I call it the 3 P's. Passion, patience, and purpose. Patience and passion seems to be very contradictory, because the entrepreneur, like the intrapreneur, is passionate. And somebody who is passionate wants to see immediate results. But if you do the thing too quickly, if it's not the right timing, then it will not work. To give you an example, a few years ago, a friend of mine who was working for Fortis, so he was based in Belgium, he had a wonderful idea to launch a new activity concerning financing houses for old people, so les EHPAD in French. So, and it's all over Europe. It's a huge subject, and only social entrepreneurs have the capacity to find the right business model. So his idea was to help those social entrepreneurs to build such projects. His idea came in 2008, 2009, so in the middle of the financial crisis. It was, I think, a good idea, but unfortunately it was not the right timing. So he was not patient enough, and unfortunately he left the company. So I say patience, passion. The third one is purpose. Start with why. If you have a purpose, you will find the way to accomplish your mission. But the first thing is, what do you want to achieve? And what is very interesting in my personal journey or the journey of the social entrepreneur is that they are motivated by a purpose. So they are good professionals, they have 10 or 20 years within a big company. But when they wake up in the morning, they say, well, what I'm doing here, what is my purpose in life? And the social entrepreneur is answering to this question, well, I'm giving a purpose to my life because I'm building something which is for the social good. The second aspect would be, concerning the key success factors, would be more the organizational aspects. And here, the 3R. The 3R would be recognition, resources, and sorry, I don't know everything by heart. Recognition, resources, and realization. Recognition. What happens in a normal company when an average employee comes to his boss and says, hey boss, I have an idea. It's a disruptive idea, but I think it would be very interesting for the company. In 95% of the cases, the immediate boss says, well, it's not on your mission, so concentrate on your mission. So it's very important to motivate the middle management so that they would accept, they would recognize that people who have ideas at the bottom of the pyramid within companies may have very good ideas. Not everything is good, but it's worth to recognize, to acknowledge those people at the bottom of the pyramid who have ideas. Second aspect at the organization level is resources. If you don't have a little money and some human resources, I don't say a team of 10 people full-time, but maybe 10 people, 10% of their time. And if you can devote 20% of your time as an initiator of the idea, then you can initiate something. At the beginning of an idea, you need to have some time. And what struck me when I met the other social entrepreneurs is that most of them, they could start their new activity working on weekends, on evenings, because that was not in the process of the company to give them, to allow them some time. And that leads to the third aspect, which is realization. The company should give to the employees some framework to help them to realize their dream project, their dream innovation. So it means, for example, to recognize with some reward, symbolic reward. So to have innovation rewards or innovation prizes. That's what we do at BNP Paribas level. So my colleagues from BNP Paribas Fortis know that. It's not only at BNP Paribas. Second idea is to build a sort of lab. So we have at BNP Paribas in Paris or here in Brussels also some structure where people are incubated. So it means for 3 months or 4 months, they will devote time, they will be helped by supporters, by professional coaches to build their innovation. So it's almost the end, and I would like really very much to listen to your questions. I will end actually with the AAA, the values. The bankers love AAA. But the values AAA, normally I do the presentation in French, so that's a little difficult because A in French is not always A in English, but it will work. The first one is action. If somebody has an idea, he should start with action and not waiting for somebody to tell him you should do this and that. So he really should take the initiative. The second A would be autonomy. This morning, Albert talked about the importance of philosophy. And what is philosophy? It's the capacity to be autonomous, to think by ourselves. And that's quite important within big companies to have people who have this autonomy level to think by themselves. And the third A, you will be surprised to hear a banker talking about that. In French, amour, In English, that would be love. In Greek, agape. So I'm not talking about erotic love, but I'm talking about love for humanity. Really, the people who want to change the world, they have a purpose. And that comes to the beginning of my presentation, be the change you want to see in the world. And now we have 1 minute for the questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, we have time for one fast question. All right.
The book is available only in French, unfortunately. I hope to make some English edition sometimes, but
No?
everything was clear. Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry? Yeah, but translation is not enough. It should be adapted because my 20 cases are cases from France. And I think it's important to give examples which are in the neighborhood, so you can meet the people, not only listen, because most books about entrepreneurship, they tell you about people from Google or from Sony. Okay, but what about what's happening in Europe? So can I meet the people? And I was very much influenced myself by other people, and that's quite important to build such networks. And that's also why this conference is very useful, because we are building networks of people who change the world.
Okay. Thank you,
very
Emmanuel.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's for you.